It is the Riots podcast. Good Thursday, December 8th to ya.
Not Friday yet. My gosh.
This is a long week.
How long is this week going to be?
Yeah.
Over for me.
Oh, that's right.
You were wondering, today's my Friday. Won't be in tomorrow.
Isaiah really planned it well. He's not in on Fridays during December. Super good plan.
I feel like if you go back throughout the year, so many of your other days off also occurred on Fridays. You probably only worked like 30 Fridays.
That's not true.
I don't know.
The only days I've taken off have been like Fridays. Primarily. One Monday, and then I think one Thursday.
Yeah.
And then every other one was a Friday.
Well, it's a good plan.
Yeah.
So we hope you have a wonderful day off tomorrow.
I'm so excited.
It's going to be weird doing this just the two of us.
And if there's
We
any
haven't done that in a
problems
long
with the
time.
podcast, it's not our fault.
It's not my fault either. If the podcast isn't correct, don't blame that on me.
You did your best.
Fridays for the rest of the month, that's not on me. Every other day you can blame it on me.
Yeah. All right. What about the podcast today, though? You better not screw this up.
Oh, yeah. So today on the podcast, we talked about short men syndrome. How some of you shorter fellows are holding in there.
No, see, don't say it like that. We talked about that for a second. And then it went into what's wrong with our history.
Transitioned into historical short men and the accuracy of those stories.
So we talk about Napoleon, and that leads to then some questionable history memories of Napoleon from Isaiah. And then that leads to a listener correcting him to who he was actually thinking of.
I think we learned a lot today, like a lot that some people might have known, but most people probably didn't. I don't really know how it will. How does learning history about like Napoleon's height, it doesn't really benefit you going forward?
No, but someone else texted in. They said that, the French and everybody else around, they just really used that to ridicule him.
Yeah.
So it just became
So no wonder he developed this complex.
Yeah.
Even though, again, though the first time, if you're listening to the podcast, he wasn't that short.
Yes,
like
he
for
was.
his time, he wasn't that short. They said.
Yes, he was.
No, they
They
said.
say he is short.
No, they said that
He's known
the
for it.
reason. No, the text said that. No, great. I closed the text thing. They said
likely
that the
story.
British made fun of him for being short because they used different measurements in France.
They used a different foot measurement.
So in France feet, he was like 5 feet. But in British feet, but in the feet we would use now, he wasn't actually 5 feet. He was a regular height for the time.
No, they say he could have been up to 5'6".
Which is regular for
No.
the
But
time.
he's
He
not
was
that tall,
shorter
though.
back then.
I don't want to be mean, but most people feel like 5'6" for a guy is way
No,
short.
That's
but
way
this is
short.
2022. That
Well,
was the 1500s or whatever.
It must have been bad if that was what he was known for.
I agree.
So like he
it was
probably,
propaganda, though.
I think they were lying about him being 5'6".
People in
probably wore
North
a
Korea
heel.
probably think that our president is really short too. It's
He probably
propaganda.
wore heels. Like guys back then would wear, a couple of inches of his boot.
Actually, when you think about that too, like they were making fun of him for being short in France. You see what the British kings were wearing back in those days.
There was a lot of things
Actually,
you
the
could have
French
made
kings
fun
were
for.
wearing pretty crazy getups too.
So we cover that, and don't
and
worry.
apparently, we still haven't learned anything.
I haven't learned a
we
darn
haven't
thing.
agreed on a thing.
But I do want to say, don't worry, no matter what your height is. 'Cause
Just don't be an angry little man. You
It's
can be a little
fine.
man, but just don't be an angry one. That makes you look shorter. If you're angrier, you just lose an inch every time you're mad.
Oh my God.
That's the truth.
What is it? Every time a bell rings,
Yes.
an angel gets his wings, and you get an inch shorter.
Every time, if you're a short man, every time you get angry, you get a little bit
you
shorter.
appear
That's it.
shorter in
Yep.
everyone's eyes.
We also talked about some of the weirder Christmas traditions and some of our more odd Christmas traditions.
Have you thought of any other weird traditions in the additional time we've had?
See, I liked the beginning of that segment when Nikki asked if we were allowed to lie.
No, I didn't mean it that way. I meant like some people have traditions that are real, like based in your culture.
Yeah.
Or like your family history. But the one I was talking about was they just made it up.
The makeup,
to
yeah.
get everybody to behave during the month of December because the threat of Santa wasn't enough. So I just meant, is it okay if it was a completely made up tradition, or did we have to have like, well, I'm Swedish and going back then, like I wasn't sure if it was that.
Yeah, for me,
I didn't even help it, did I?
No.
You did, and you're still.
I think we should just lie. I think that's more fun. I think one of my favorite family traditions on Christmas Day is we always have ham, right? And so one thing we do the ham toss, and we see how far we can throw. Everybody gets a ham, and
You see how far you can throw it into the Grand
see how far
Canyon.
you can throw the ham, and see how far it'll go.
Well,
and the
I wish-
winner is the first one who gets to eat.
I wish growing up we would have done the Christmas present, like you get one the night before.
Yeah, me too.
Like I wish we would have
was
done
jealous
I
that.
of
always think
everybody did
that's
that.
cheating.
We never got to do that.
I always think that's
See,
cheating.
the family that we spend Christmas Eve with, like the same family every year, our family friends, and they would always open a gift on Christmas Eve.
And you guys couldn't?
And we never did.
That's
And so we would
unfair.
go over there, and they would be like, oh, yeah, we opened. They would already have opened it up, and they would already have their gift they opened, and I would just sit there just menacingly
Mad.
from across the room. How come I don't get to open a gift? My gifts haven't even arrived yet.
Yeah,
Why
that is
did Santa
a
come
rough
here
one,
so
isn't it?
early?
Yeah,
I'm right down the street.
That was unfair. So if you have any family traditions or I think there's a lot you could possibly have thoughts about in this podcast today.
Oh, yeah.
So you are welcome to text us at 877 Radio U. Include your name and that you're a podcast listener.
And the best part is, you can text anything you want about Isaiah, and he won't be here tomorrow
Oh,
to offend
yeah,
to
we'll take
defend.
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Just pile on. And then when I come back Monday, I'll see him all then.
Okay.
Actually, I think you should not listen to the podcast tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, you guys
yeah,
are
why
going to
don't
rip
you
me
sleep
anyway.
in and tune out because you,
know
don't
what? I
want to
won't.
hear
It's going to be a great day off.
it
what
just
we and
means
everyone
we
has to
miss
say.
you. That's all it is.
Can't wait to hear.
At least we're thinking about you.
Exactly.
Well, you guys enjoy the podcast today and you enjoy your day off tomorrow, Isaiah.
Yep. We'll see you guys soon.
Catch you
Bye.
next time.
Don't say we didn't warn you. This is the worst of the riot.
Isaiah, do you consider yourself a short man?
I don't think I'm short,
You're not short?
but I don't think I'm tall either.
No. Well, nobody would think that.
I think I'm a little bit.
You're right
on
in the sweet spot?
I'm like just a little bit below the sweet spot, I
you
would
think
say.
a little below average?
I wouldn't say I'm below average. I think
How
I'm
tall
very
are you?
average.
Like,
I'm
what's your
like
measurements?
5'9",
You played sports.
5'10".
5'9".
Yes.
5'10"?
Yes. What are you so much everybody laughing for? What's all this laughing about?
You know, it's whatever
That's
you
how
feel
tall I
like
am.
that
Yeah.
day, okay?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm like the
How tall are
tallest
you?
one in this room.
Well, wait.
You're not taller than I am.
I've always been taller than you.
How tall are you?
I'm like 5'9", 5'10".
Okay.
Why are
Likely
we
so.
literally
Nikki
all...
is the tallest one in this room, which is a sad thing.
You know, I don't like to stand next to Nikki.
No, yeah.
It doesn't make me feel good about myself.
Well,
but I'm definitely taller than Hudson.
You should have
I
an Eric
disagree.
because
I
Eric
know.
is 6'3",
Yeah.
and that'll make you feel short.
Yeah, that's for sure. I know. I always thought it's crazy that almost as long as I've worked at RadioU, I felt like I'm the tallest guy here.
Isn't that a good feeling? I
is a
love
good
this
Well,
place.
not anymore.
Now
Not with
I
our-
am.
Not with our new guy.
Oh,
That's
geez.
right. Yeah, I know,
I
you're
forgot
right.
about that. I was the tallest for like a month.
Yeah,
You
but
guys haven't met him yet, but when you do, he's very tall.
he is very tall. Okay, so here's the problem with being short. At least I think it's a problem. Is that new research has found that short man syndrome is a real thing. Basically, that if you're a short guy, you are more likely to develop certain personality traits to cope and
deal with it?
compensate
Oh my gosh.
for your shortness. These personality tendencies are you may be more psychopathic,
That's an intense one.
narcissistic,
That one's also.
and signal malevolence. I don't even know what that is.
They say basically you might come across as more intense or more, not angry, but just more.
Yeah.
Because you're trying
Little
to.
extra.
You have-
Yeah, a little extra because you're trying to compensate and you're trying to come across as more powerful.
Yeah, you have to have a more powerful personality to make up for,
Maybe
at
not
least
as
in your
tall.
mind, your lack of height that other people. I mean, it is tough, right? If you're a shorter guy, and I don't think I know I don't have a complex. I don't see myself as short, so I don't see people looking down on me as short. But I can imagine that's like something. If you're a shorter guy, that's really going to be the first thing anybody notices about you is like, hey, I'm taller than you, and so you can understand how you would definitely develop a complex and want to compensate for that.
They say narcissism is really the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And they say shorter men tend to be more narcissistic, but shorter women do not. But I wonder if taller women have the same.
Yeah, you
for
are pretty
sure.
narcissistic,
Because
actually, now that you mention it.
100%.
Because if you're way taller and you're a woman, sometimes that's just probably as upsetting as if you were too short as a guy.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
You think it's the same though?
Yeah, girls don't want to be tall. I feel like,
but I don't know if the nurse.
We don't want to be too tall.
we don't be too tall because if you ask, this is another thing that's messed up. Is if you're, this is messed up. I'll tell you right now.
About this.
If you meet a girl that's tall, right, and me, I'm like an average sized guy. I've met girls that are short, that are taller than me. But if you ask a girl how tall she is, who's clearly taller than me, she'll be like, I'm like 5'7". And then I'm like, I know for a fact
you're not,
that I'm not 5'5", and there's no way that you're only 5'7", because then everyone else will go, Isaiah, if she's 5'7", how tall are you? And I'm like, she's lying. She's lying through her teeth. She doesn't want to be tall, which is okay. I get it.
Yeah.
But at the same time.
Okay, so maybe then women being too tall, instead of trying to come off as too powerful, you try to just bring back a little.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. I don't think they might have a similar complex, but they wouldn't compensate with narcissistic tendencies. They might be
the reverse.
They'd be very meek. Or something like that. You know
don't want to meet a tall, powerful woman. That's just a scary thing for me.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it, but for me, it's a little bit scary.
Well, you know what, short guys, you don't have to feel bad, though, because, no matter what height you are, you can be very narcissistic.
That's true. Anybody can.
I've developed that, and I'm very average. So
they call it the Napoleon complex.
Which is messed up, too, because Napoleon wasn't even very short.
They say he was. Oh, yeah, he was.
He was very short. What do you mean?
He was either he was somewhere in between 5'2" to 5'7".
5'7" is not that short.
Well, what if he was
5'7" is very short, I think.
What if he was 5'2"?
I've heard disputes about that. I've heard disputes that is not true.
Well, maybe it was.
What's the place where he was at in Florida or whatever, where he came on? I went there.
What?
I went to the, like where he
Whoa,
whatever
hang
he went.
on. Wait, we're talking about Napoleon
Bonaparte or whatever? Is that his name?
From France?
Didn't he land here in the U.S. or something?
No, that's Christopher Columbus.
Same difference, whoever he is. They were all short.
Oh, my God.
Did he not land somewhere in Florida? Yes, he did.
But what about the Napoleon?
Look it up.
The Louisiana Purchase or whatever.
He landed in Florida. Where'd he land?
Oh, my gosh. Thank you, Isaiah.
He didn't land in Florida.
Now, hold up real quick.
Thank
you. Are you looking?
I need to also look up, did Napoleon land in Florida? But how tall was How tall was Napoleon Bonaparte? They say he was very average for the time.
Yeah.
So
everybody was shorter back then. I have 5'6" right here.
They were shorter and just smaller.
I'm also looking up, where did Napoleon Bonaparte, I don't even know, land? What are we?
He landed here, did he not? Somebody text in. Somebody agree with me. Did he not touch soil in the U.S.?
Listen,
I swear he did.
When you keep saying landed, you do make it seem like you're meaning Christopher Columbus.
Whatever one he was, did he ever step foot on this ground here that I call home?
You want to look it up later?
There's not a single person texting it. I'm going to have to lean against probably not. I could have swore I went there. Maybe not, I guess. Whatever. He was short.
Not where I thought this would go.
The short, angry man.
Maybe he just projected like he did land here.
Yes, it felt like he did.
It's the worst of the riot on Radio U.
We were talking a few minutes ago about how short man syndrome has been basically proven to be a real thing, where if you're a shorter guy, you are more likely to develop psychopathic and narcissistic tendencies to compensate for your height. Basically, in other words, if you can't be physically formidable, you may become psychologically formidable instead.
To compensate.
Yes. So that was, so then the conversation, of course, led to notoriously short Napoleon Bonaparte.
Well, they also call it the Napoleon syndrome.
They do.
And that led
to an angry little man in the corner.
Yeah.
Getting something correct, right? So I said...
You didn't really get anything correct.
I didn't get anything wrong either. For the most part, maybe a little bit. I said...
You got the wrong person.
I said Napoleon landed in Florida. Factually incorrect. I will soak
absolutely.
that.
He never came to the United States at all.
Never made it here. But
when you were in Florida, you went to
I went to a battlegrounds of some sort
in
that
St.
I thought.
Augustine.
And I knew there was something to do with it being like short there. like the people being little. I don't know what the deal was, but I remember the walls because I was gonna join in on the convo by saying, "Oh, I remember Napoleon like it was yesterday." I was down at his little battleground, and all the walls were like super short for all these short little people, and so I could clearly see over the top. I would have been one easy headshot because there had been nothing protecting me. But for these little men, and it wasn't Napoleon Bonaparte, it was the Battle of St. Augustine, and it was Ponce de Leon.
Which you have to give Max credit for. Max guessed who you were talking about.
And reminded me.
He was looking for the Fountain of Youth.
Yes. And he was even shorter. He is 4'11", so he was the littlest of little.
Right, so first of all, imagine being Napoleon Bonaparte, and there's a whole syndrome named after you being short, and you weren't even that short, especially compared to Ponce de Leon.
Why was he not the one?
Yeah.
It should have been him.
Maybe he didn't have psychopathic tendencies. Maybe he was the outlier. But we find out that, I'm learning a lot here.
Well, I told Isaiah this is why a lot of us get history wrong.
Yeah.
Because we'll hear someone be like, no, this is what happened, and we're all wrong.
Yeah, it's every time.
You remember vague, you remember bits and pieces, and then you try to put all the bits and pieces together of all the things you know about history.
And then it's just a completely new story.
Yeah, where...
My favorite is Hudson looked it up. He's like, nope, Napoleon's never been to America.
Actually, oddly enough, it says he never made it here.
Yeah, but even still, there should be some clarification because the siege of St. Augustine took place in 1740, which is like 200 years after Ponce de Leon died, although he did land initially near St. Augustine, which is the oldest continually inhabited settlement in the United States.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I was there, stepped ground in there. Yet again, I can confirm the walls were short.
And what else did you see while you were there?
I saw
cannons.
I saw some cannons. Yeah. And then we got into a whole off-air argument about how cannons were just a silly thing. Just a silly
Hang on,
invention.
guys. Let me load the cannon. I'll be right back.
Yeah. I think we really would have thrived back in those days.
Oh, we would have been awesome.
Well, first of all, we'd be way taller compared to everybody, apparently. But secondly, we would have been like, look, let's ditch the cannons. Easy to dodge, take forever to load. We're going to have to come up with something else. Bows and arrows are probably better.
And carrying the cannons. I can't get over that, too. Like, there's someone who has to carry those cannonballs. And that would have been the worst job of all time.
We would have been considered geniuses.
They would have thought I was like an NBA player back then. Standing all 5'9"-esque, 5'10"-esque. They would have said, wow, this dude is huge.
Listen, I wish you two were the tour leaders at the St. Augustine place.
Let me give you guys a rundown.
Yeah.
To the left, this is where the whatever happened. That would have been me.
People back in these days, idiots. They thought cannons would hurt people. Wait, like this. Here, fire one of these up. See if you can hit me.
See if you can hit me.
I'll give you 5 tries. See if you can hit me with a cannon.
So we've learned a lot. We've corrected the misinformation that someone put out there. But that was Ponce de Leon.
Except all this cannon slander. Somebody's going to come back and be like, actually, very effective weaponry.
Extremely effective, yeah.
Very effective weaponry.
You could never realistically dodge one. Let's hear it.
Jason's text message was, Napoleon didn't make it to America since he wasn't this tall to board the ride.
Oh, yeah.
That's good, Jason.
You won't hear a show like this anywhere else. And that's probably for the best. The worst of the riot. Radio U.
Do you have what you would consider a quirky or odd, unique holiday tradition?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anything that, because there's the normal holiday traditions, right? Maybe some, like, I feel like it's fairly normal, even though I don't partake in this in my family, but you open a present on Christmas Eve, you get to choose one present, right?
Sure.
A lot of people do that, or, some people, like, traditionally will attend a Christmas Eve service or a candle lighting, or they'll go out and do something, go see Christmas, like, I don't need to list all the average stuff, but every family is unique. They all have their own thing. Do you have a unique tradition you think many other people have?
Is it all right if it's made up?
Yeah, you can lie.
It can be made.
You're gonna lie?
Well, no. I mean,
you can lie. Yeah.
The tradition was made up for your family.
Yeah, that's the whole idea, right?
Okay, it wasn't passed down and they think it's partially true or anything like that. It's completely made up.
Yes, of course. Just what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Just go.
Whatever you're saying, yes.
Just say it.
Because Eric's family, his grandmother created a character to get them to behave during Christmas time.
Yeah.
And so
is it Santa?
Well, it's kind of. It's called the Bonsator. And
Whoa, that's pretty creative.
Because she's French Canadian from, I think, Quebec.
Okay.
And so this was during Christmas, like the season, the month of December. If you were good, the Bon Sator would bring you a small little present and would ring the bell or knock on your front door and leave it there for you.
Did she dress up like the
No,
Bon
you would
Sator?
never see the Bon Sator. So you just didn't even know who
clever.
this character was. But that was like the person that was getting you ready to lead up for Santa.
Oh,
if you were good or
really?
not.
Santa's henchman.
She came up with that all on her own.
Well, it was just something that was started
Or it's
with
a French
her.
thing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a French thing or based out of, I don't know. But yeah, we always had with that. I was like, what's the Bon Sator? And then I was like, oh, you get a little gift. Okay.
Did the Bon Sator
cute.
land in Florida?
No, I haven't. The Bon
We
Sator,
can't be sure.
The Bon Sator hasn't visited me in a
Hard
while.
maybe. I was really hoping that conversation was going to go. So she was like, she made up this character called Santa. And if you were good, you would get gifts. If you were bad, get this, he'd give you coal.
It was Santa Claus.
I don't know where she got it from, but apparently that's how it's supposed to go. But for me, our only tradition that we have that I would consider kind of weird is that we just like wait a long time to open presents. Like we don't open
You don't open
presents.
them in the
You don't do
morning?
We open them at like 2:00 in the afternoon.
No, you do not.
Every year since
What
I've
do you
been a
do
little kid.
before then?
Well, when I was little, what would happen is like my brothers and I would wake up at like 6 or 7 a.m. like a typical child. We'd run out to the living room. All the presents are there. We're hyped up. And then there was like a 4-hour waiting
Whoa.
period. Not even joking. There's a 4-hour waiting period where, because my parents, like they own toy stores, right? So this is the first day they've had off in like months.
So they want to
Okay.
sleep in.
So they want to sleep in today. They want to clean the house. They want to relax. So there would literally be days where we would be like waiting for presents, and my mom would be like vacuuming the living room.
No.
And I was like, "Can we get this thing started? Can we get this thing
No.
started?" So now
You know you're
it's-
just gonna have to vacuum it again after.
and my
we
dad,
open the presents.
my dad's like an early riser, so he's just like making breakfast. We're all hanging out. But now we know just to sleep in, and so there's no rush for us to get over like to my
Yeah.
parents' house on Christmas.
Were your presents out? And,
Yeah,
like,
we could just see
waiting?
'em.
You could just see them.
You could just, we were just sitting there staring at them as like a 7-year-old waiting. And I'm sure when I was younger too, we probably opened them earlier. But I just remember as I've gotten older, it's been later and later.
Wow, that's
and
the
now,
worst.
So like on Christmas Day this year, I won't even leave to go over there till like 10 or 11 o'clock.
See, here's my controversial opinion. I might prefer that.
It's pretty great.
Yeah, because here's my issue with Christmas, and I don't have a unique tradition, unfortunately. But here's my issue with Christmas is that you get up early and open the presents first thing in the morning, right, as the sun's coming up or whatever. But then you've got a long day of a whole lot of nothing the rest of Christmas. I mean, yeah, you've got a Christmas dinner, but what are you doing after
You're supposed to play with your Christmas presents.
All your toys and whatnot.
All your toys.
after 10 a.m.?
No, you're supposed to open them first thing, and then you have the whole day.
To play as much as you want.
Yeah, set your stuff up.
It is kind of nice because the anticipation's like the best part, right? Like when you're sitting there, like what could be under there?
Yeah.
That's like the most exciting part. So we just get that a longer period of time, and then I'll just like sit in the kitchen and hang out with my dad, and he'll make breakfast and stuff, and we'll just chat it up for a while, and that like anticipation builds. And then by the time we're done opening presents, it's like 4 or 5 o'clock,
Oh my
and we're ready to
gosh.
eat dinner.
Why even bother then? Save it, save it for the next day.
Next
Why
year,
bother?
just do it next year. Hold on to them.
Well, if anybody has any weird Christmas traditions, definitely text it in, and we'll bring up if yours is unique enough.
All right, yeah, we've got some text rolling through, so we'll get to those next. 8772 Radio U if you want to chime in.
This is Radio U's Worst of the Riot.
Talking Christmas traditions that might be a little out of the norm. Something that you and your family do or maybe did in the past. There was a tradition that you don't think most other families would do.
And it's good to talk about it now, because then maybe you can pick up someone else's tradition.
Yeah.
Do
Some
that
of
this
these
year.
might not be bad ideas. Maybe they can become more widespread. All right, what do we got in the text?
Well, I like Aaron. Aaron said, growing up, we opened presents on Christmas Eve. Then we would all sleep on the floor around the tree and open up stockings in the morning.
Oh, I love a good
But
stocking.
presents would be in the evening.
Interesting. I
You
don't
want to
know.
adopt that one?
I don't know. I feel like the presents got to be saved for Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would always sneak down, though, and look at our stockings like during the night, because, it would be left out.
Yeah.
But we would not usually go and try to sneak presents, but you would sneak the stocking stuff.
You want to hear? This isn't like a exactly unique tradition, but on the note of like presents on Christmas Eve or whatever, it was a tradition with my grandmother that like there was always a phrase we would say because she would try to sneak like all the presents under the tree the night before, like all of them.
Yeah.
And so then it just like from everybody. And so all of the presents are piled up under the tree on Christmas Eve. And like us kids, we weren't fooled. It's like, what? It says from you, Grandma. Like, why? Like, we're not. But then in the morning, or once that was done, she would go, next year we got to cut back. And then she never cut back.
Aww.
Yeah.
Next year we got to cut back.
She would say it every year.
Merry Christmas.
We got to do less next year. This is way too much. Just look how many presents there are. This is ridiculous.
Aww.
And then she'd always just buy just as many, if not more, the next year.
So Ashton just texted in. We always got one present on Christmas Eve and the grandparent stocking you could get. Then Christmas morning would be breakfast and then the full presents.
That's a sounds pretty solid.
The one present is pretty common.
Yeah, that is. Hate to break it to you, Ashton.
That would not
That's
uncommon.
pretty common, yeah.
So Lydia says our weird tradition would be always having Chinese food for Christmas Eve dinner, which is also not too weird. And a lot of people just have Chinese food on Christmas Day.
Yeah, because you gotta like that's
it's
the only place
open.
open, especially
Yeah.
on Christmas Day. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So thank you guys for texting those in.
I liked was it Samuel that texted in and said that I was homeschooled, so I only got no wait, that was somebody else. But somebody texted in and said I was homeschooled, so
It was
I only
Max.
got booked. Max.
Why are you so mean?
Well, Max, I appreciate that, but you think I got books for every Christmas and I wound up this stupid?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Just because Hudson was homeschooled doesn't mean his intellect. I mean, I can clearly tell. As a public schooler here,
No,
mine
that's
has
not a
already surpassed him.
reflection on your teacher, your mom.
Yeah, no.
I'm sure she's so smart.
But he got the stereotype all wrong. Actually, I'm Canadian, so I got hockey cards for every
Yeah,
Christmas.
you did.
And that is 100% true. I also see some other people that say they texted in and said that they watch a horror movie every Christmas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a unique one.
That's a weird thing.
That
So then,
is.
wait, at Halloween, do you watch a Christmas movie?
that would make a lot of sense. Also, somebody saying that they make ornaments with their dog's paw print. That's you wouldn't think of that, but that's
That's
not
a
a bad
cute one.
idea. That sounds like
Yeah.
something you would do, Nikki.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this one. Dee just texted him. We do breakfast for dinner on Christmas Eve. I
Nice.
love breakfast for dinner.
Is that the best?
That's my favorite. Like, breakfast is my favorite food. So breakfast for dinner sounds fantastic.
That's like a good
on
weekly
Christmas Eve.
tradition. Forget about
I
Christmas.
love that.
I'll leave you with one last one. Max is clarifying. He said, he says, I didn't say you read them for the books. You just got
That's
books.
accurate. Yeah, that's accurate. It's the
Find more Riot content online. Riot.radiou.com.
Okay. Did you see this? That one of the richest men in the world is so rich that he rented out a section of Disney World. It looks like this past weekend, so that he could invite. It appears to be about 10,000 people.
His employees?
10,000 people. It was his employees and their families as like I guess that's their Christmas party. The guy's name is Ken Griffin. He is the CEO and founder of Citadel Securities, so like a hedge fund.
Yeah.
And he's worth about $40 billion. He was able to rent out this in Epcot, the Discovery, the World Discovery section of the park there.
It actually closed down Disney
Yeah.
for certain portions of the weekend when they had it.
Yeah. And not only so they had access, I'm assuming, I'm not 100% clear on this, but I believe like throughout the weekend, these people, all of his employees, these 10,000 some people, were able to just go about Disney World. And then for sections of the weekend, they had the World Discovery section of Epcot closed off because that was the Citadel section where these people could go.
Which would be annoying if you weren't a part of that and that was there's like, guys, let's finally go to Disney this weekend.
So excited to go to the World Discovery section
And
of
it's
Epcot.
closed.
Yeah, sorry kids. I believe it might have been later in the day, so maybe when it was open during
They close
hours
it
that
at
wouldn't
night.
normally be open, because not only again did they have this like all of Disney at their disposal, they had part of the Epcot that was just for them, and then they had concerts from Coldplay, Carly Rae Jepsen, Diplo.
Yeah.
Were all there thanks to Ken Griffin, the $40 billion CEO of
that's
Citadel
not
Securities.
Did you see what else?
What else?
Well, it's basically the whole weekend. They were celebrating Citadel, which again is a hedge fund thing, which you're like, what's that? That's because we're not rich. We don't know.
Yeah.
But it was celebrating like their company's anniversary, which was a couple of years ago, but they couldn't do it because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So he paid for his 10,000 employees and some of their families. He paid for all their travel.
For everything.
It was everything.
Yeah.
So like
I guess,
their airline, their hotel, their food.
I guess I imagine if you can rent out a section of Disney World, you could also afford plane tickets. But
they got everything.
Yeah.
And they say some of their employees come from even Europe. So
Crazy.
They came from everywhere. And they also had a deal with Universal Orlando where they got some concerts as well.
Dang.
So it was both Disney and Universal.
A real park hopper pass right there.
I just want to know how much it costs. Like, what was the final number?
I mean,
but they won't say.
It is saying something. He's worth $40 billion, and like that didn't put a dent in him, probably. To put 10,000 people, all expenses paid at Disney World, plus put on concerts and everything. I think I want to work at a hedge fund.
Yeah, you want to work there?
Yeah, I think I could. I make a good stockbroker, right?
I think you could.
Because it's all algorithms, and so all I need to do, they just get some egghead to set me up with an algorithm that knows when to invest and when to not, or whatever. That's fine. I don't need to worry about that. And then I just need to get people to. The real thing you need to do as a stockbroker, get people to trust you with your money.
Yeah.
With their money, their hard-earned money. They just want to. They got to look me in the eye and say, yeah, he's going to take care of it. And you know who's going to take care of it? Me.
Well, you're in Orlando at Disney.
Yeah, right. That's how much you get. Don't worry about that. I've got this egghead. We pay the people. Don't worry about it. They work with the computers and whatever. They figure it out. And but that allows me to take vacations to Universal.
Well, I did want to preface and let everybody know before you get all upset about where you work at, their Christmas thing. Technically, this was just a part of a Christmas, but this was really about the company's anniversary.
Their anniversary and their record-breaking year, too.
So it was like a combination.
Does kind of rub it in, though, because Wall Street didn't have a great year, but this hedge fund definitely did.
He made a lot of money.
It is.
This is The Riot. Radio U.
Yesterday, in some bonus content we recorded, you would only hear if you were listening to the Worst of the Riot podcast. You can find wherever you find your podcasts and also on YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah, you can watch it there.
Watch it. But if you didn't listen to the podcast or watch the podcast yesterday, you missed this. But we talked about if your dog has a middle name, and we thought it was such a great topic that we had to bring it back.
Oh, I'm just so curious
for everyone to get involved.
Does anybody's dog does anybody give their dog a middle name?
Yeah, because the reason it came up is we're talking about Isaiah getting upset with your dog Jim.
Yeah,
and so we asked, does he have a middle name? You yell when he's upset, when you're upset with him.
Like your parents would, if you, because you said that when your parents were mad at you, got your first and middle name.
Yeah, they would say Isaiah Samuel.
Isaiah Samuel, you get over it.
Yeah,
or
exactly
for me,
like that.
Harrison Dean. My parents didn't really do that. Harrison Dean.
No,
middle name's Dean?
Yeah.
Harrison Dean. That doesn't really roll off
the tongue. No, it doesn't.
Quite like Isaiah Samuel does. But yeah, they would always screw up middle name. But for me with Jim, I don't. He knows he's in trouble if I just refer to him as just Jim, like just his real name.
So you normally have like a fun name for him. Yeah, he's not in trouble.
I'm just like tossing nicknames around. Like if he had a middle name based off of what I call him, it would be Baby, because I just call him Jim Baby all the time.
Jim Baby
or Jim B. I call him Mr. Jim B. Mr.
Well, I think you should totally make
Jim Baby.
I think we should come up with middle names for our dogs.
Yeah, mine would be.
You have one already?
I know.
I feel like you should.
I really thought you would have middle names for your
I have
animals.
too many dogs.
There's so many animals. There's so many names to remember. If everybody had a middle name, can you imagine?
And were you here when she named her cat also?
Mochi?
Yes, Mochi. I was like in the very beginning of that. That's when I started.
You struggled so much to just come up with one name for your cat. Forget about coming up with a second middle name for it.
That's because normally my dogs and cats have like a theme. And so most of them have all been like candy or some sort of dessert or treat. So I'm pretty limited. I don't come up with just any random name. They have to meet the theme.
So what about middle names though? Would you be more free with it?
I think I would have to just have any name as an option.
It just rolls off the tongue, I think. You kind of just figure it out as you go.
So for me, now, you guys, this again was revealed in the podcast
Yours is
yesterday.
so dumb.
Yours is
What
weird.
are you talking about?
Your middle name for your dog.
My dog's middle name, her first name is Zafira. Her middle name is Peanut Butter.
That is so strange.
They don't go together at all.
Why not?
It just doesn't. If I was like, Zafira peanut butter, like that is not a sentence that you would say. They do not go together well at all.
But it's a dog, though.
But
Yeah,
I think
but
it's
that
also
doesn't make
weird
sense.
because Zafira is from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And so that's this style of show. And then if you know that, and then you're like, and peanut butter.
And Reese's.
But Peanut Butter is also from a critically acclaimed,
It's from a show.
somewhat esoteric. It's from BoJack Horseman. Mr. Peanut Butter's a dog in that show. Lovable scamp he is. And so, they do go together in the shows, even though the shows don't seem similar on the surface. They're kind of prestige in a way, like Emmy bait kind of shows. And so I can see that.
That's how they roll together.
Yeah, in my mind.
Well,
Zafira Peanut Butter, the dog.
It's cute. Sam texted in, said, my friend's dog name is Louie, but his full name is Louis Von Pupperton.
Oh, very cute. Louis Vaughn.
Louis
See,
Von.
yeah, you can be cute with your dog.
And then
That's a fun
Julia
thing.
texted in, both of my dogs have middle names. German Shepherd is Dash McPuppy Balls Feister, and Corgi Pomeranian is Chi-Chi Fuzzy Butt.
See,
Chi-Chi.
what are you expecting?
See, but
for these
Chi-Chi
middle
Fuzzy
names?
Butt goes together well. It goes together.
See, I think we should all maybe take an extra long weekend thinking about if you need to bring in a middle name to add into your dog's rotation. With
Yeah.
And like a lot of my friends, they have like middle names for their dogs and stuff. And like I know one of my friends, because I hear it all the time, is Quinley Basil. Do that one all the time.
cute.
That's so fancy.
Isn't that so fancy for Jim?
Yeah.
It's just now I've determined it's just Jim Baby because that's the only thing I call him, and so that's his middle name now.
I need to take some time and think about what would be a good middle name for Jim the dog.
It's Baby. Oh, Jim Baby.
You need like a middle name to yell when you're angry at him because you're so
I do.
often
You're right.
angry
I
at
can't
Oh my
angry
gosh.
yell Jim Baby.
What about Jim Jelly?
Jim
Because then
Jelly.
peanut butter and jelly.
Oh, there we go. That's a good one. Jim Jelly, get over here.
Thanks for watching the worst of the riot. Since you made it this far, you might as well like, subscribe, and check out riot.radiou.com for even more riot.